there's such a wide spectrum of trying to be healthy whilst battling an internal battle. And that's what we're talking about this morning.
Yeah, in the last couple of weeks, we've covered off with Colin sort of the superficial injuries, and we've gone a little bit deeper with people suffering maybe from blood conditions or diabetes. And it's more mental, a mental game this morning, Colin.
Yes, that's what we want to talk about. So, things like maybe depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar disorder. There's a whole range of different mental health conditions that we sort of think about when we look at this topic. So I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is that sometimes just even getting out of bed can be a struggle.
Yep.
Let alone thinking, oh, I've got to go and work out. I've got to go and exercise. I've got to do all this full on stuff, just thinking, that initial inertia to get me going, that can be the hard thing, I think.
Which is half the battle, really, because you hear all this great research and all these amazing statistics about how good exercise and quality exercise in your life can actually turn some of these things around. But
yeah,
getting started is almost an insurmountable mountain for a lot of people.
Yeah, because you sit there and you think, I should go and do this. I should do that, but that, and as I always call it, the initial inertia, getting your butt off the couch to actually do it can be one of the hardest things. But having said that, exercise can dramatically improve your mental health. And that's what we want to chat through today.
So what do some of the studies say? I mean, what kind of difference does it make? I can speak anecdotally from my own life, but I'd love to hear what actually is happening when we exercise.
Yeah, well, the very first thing that I like to think about is the chemical response in the brain. So firstly, it releases endorphins, so you get that feel-good chemical. So that's one thing. But even more exciting is that over time, exercise helps the nerve cells grow and even make new connections in what we call the hippocampus. So that's the part of the brain that regulates your mood. So that's really exciting that we can actually not just feel good and then go back to life. We can actually start to change physically at a chemical level. So that's really exciting.
I always used to think it was a bit cheesy when people used to talk about the brain being one giant muscle, like one of the largest muscles in your brain. But really what you're saying, Colin, is if you start working out your other muscles, like your arm muscles and your leg muscles and your back muscles, the big muscle in between the ears is actually benefiting.
Absolutely. And that's really exciting that you can not only just have this burst of feeling good, but it can be ongoing changes, to your mental health through an extended period of training and exercise. So I think that's the first thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can attest to that. As I've spoken about over the years, I've had a really rough few years with a lot changing in my life, and my mental health took a massive hit. And one of the things that has really kept me going has been heading down to train with Colin. There were some days, and Colin has been is a very dear friend to me, but sometimes I'd be there and I would walk in and I would be a wreck and next to just beside myself and in tears. And after a session of training, I would walk out feeling like a different person. And I knew that it was critical to continue training during my toughest times because I left feeling like a different human. And it has been a part of my recovery. So I'm the biggest fan of exercising for mental health. It made the biggest difference in my life.
What's the second element when it comes to the benefits of exercising and when it comes to our mental health, Colin?
So the second thing is what Luce is partly talking about there. I think it's the satisfaction of completing a session or a goal, or, just getting to that point that you go, it feels great that I actually got up and I did it. And I worked out, or I walked around the block, or I, went for a bike ride or whatever. And that motivates you for your next session as well, because you walk out thinking, I completed it. I actually did what I wanted to achieve.
I was at the pit yesterday because Colin is helping me through my issues of, everything that I'm going through with my physicality, and I'm getting into a better place. And I'm even attempting little goals like this week. My goal is to try and get to Colin's more than once. So that's my goal.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, Colin, some of your motivational posters that you've got pinned up around your gym, and I know this is the same for everywhere that you go when you're involved in gym or personal training. One of your posters actually sort of reminds you, well, don't worry about the end goal. Don't worry about the abs or whatever you're focused on a year from now. Where are you right now? You're at the gym. What are you doing right now? Well, you got out of bed and you got out and you're hanging out with other people.
Yeah.
These little mini sort of moments where you realize that just being in a space where you're trying to get some exercise or better yourself physically is enough.
Yeah, and celebrate that. Celebrate the fact that you did it. You know, you actually got there. You did it. You worked through it, and you probably walking out feeling a balance between dead and awesome. You know, so that's my goal. You know?
And what about the third tip, Colin?
So the third thing is that I think we can gain connections through exercise, and we all know that, you know, we're social beings, and that connection is awesome for us as humans to be able to speak with people and open up and share, and, you know, be able to be heard and all that sort of thing. And we help build the story together, I think, when we do exercise together. So I think of the Bible verse in Ecclesiastes where it says 2 are better than 1, and then if one falls down, the other person's there to lift them up. So, you know, taking that and sort of thinking that from an exercise point of view, you know, when you're actually there training together, it's actually a really deep sort of connecting time, I think, particularly in a fitness community. You know, sometimes in the gym, I know, you know, it can be just headphones on, you know, and people just go and do their own thing. But I think if you can exercise within sort of a small community, whether it's a one friend or a few friends, and find something that you want to do with each other.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, and Kel and I and Aizen all train together now, and there's a few other people from the station and a few other friends we've made along the way, and we have such a great time training together. It's so much more, and we've all said this, it's so much more enjoyable than going to a gym by ourselves. We really love the connection and the community, and we cheer each other on. And, you know, when Aizen does these massive deadlifts of like 205 kilos, we're all there cheering him on, and that makes all of us feel great. And I think that's great for everyone's mental health, no matter where they are on their journey, whether they're kicking goals, loving life, or whether they're struggling. Like it just helps absolutely everybody.
Yeah, that's it. And there's a couple of things I want to leave you with. That I want you to think about. Don't say, I should go and do this, or I should go and do that. Think about, okay, what would I like to do? What would I like to do? Would I like to play netball? Would I like to go for a walk along a track through nature? Would I like to ride a horse? Would I like to ride a bike? Would I like to train in a gym? What would I like to do? And then find the small difference between, well, probably a big difference, but between happiness and joy, and finding joy in the small things. So, you know, if that means you just go outside and feel the sun on your face and go for a walk to the letterbox, find the joy in that. And think, you know, particularly people with mental health conditions often struggle to feel happy, but we can still find the joy in the small things. So I think, and that can be asking a friend to go exercise with you, go for a walk with you, and that sort of thing. So I think that, and I always say, decide and then do it. So that's one thing that we need to just say, okay, let's take that first step.